Alright, Southern Explorer, right back at you. We're gonna do a bread making video, how to make nice, simple, easy, homemade bread. Simplest recipe. Pretty much, you've got 4 ingredients. You've got preferably sea salt, active dry yeast, and bread flour, and this is regular unbleached bread flour. This is a gluten bread. You can do gluten-free, but it's a little more complex. And then you'll want parchment paper, and of course you're going to use water to mix all your ingredients together, but the parchment paper is going to come in handy later when we are putting the bread in the oven. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I start the recipe, and I will put the ingredients and the recipe in the description below. All right, first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna get 1.5 cups of warm water. Next, you're gonna add 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast. Remember, do not use instant yeast for this recipe. You're gonna wanna use active dry yeast. Next, you're going to want to whisk that active dry yeast into your warm water, and you're really wanting to get it out of that granular form, and you're wanting to get it nice and just evenly mixed in your water. So next, you're going to want to take 4 full cups of your bread flour, and this is going to be regular gluten flour for this recipe. And you're going to want to put that into your mixed yeast and water. Next, you're going to want to whisk this and get this all nice and mixed evenly. Here we're adding just a little touch more bread flour, just to try to get that dough just a little more dry. And I will say, at this stage, don't forget to add your salt. And usually you can kind of salt it to taste, but the recipe is just going to call for 1 teaspoon of salt. So we're just going to do 1 teaspoon of salt. That's going to give your bread a little bit more flavor. Next part is pretty simple. We're just going to cover our bread loaf with, you can either use a kitchen towel, you can cover it, and this will let it essentially rise naturally. You know, that's the easiest way to do it. You can put something over it and try to not let any air in, but I like to just simply put a kitchen towel under it. This is the old-fashioned way. This is how your grandmother made bread at home. All right, Southern Explorer here. So our bread is looking better. We're starting to see air bubbles. We're about an hour in. I'm getting the oven preheated to 425 degrees, and we're going to bake this for 30 minutes. So I will show you our prep for this. So we're gonna cover this up, keep it going, let it just keep doing its thing. So the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna use parchment pre-cut sheets. These are non-stick sheets, so you're gonna put this into your Dutch oven. The key thing here with bread making is having a Dutch oven, especially when you're making bread in a regular modern oven. The Dutch oven is gonna help bake it and cook it from the inside out. And then when you want to make that top golden brown, you're gonna take the top off and cook it for probably or bake it for another 10 to 20 minutes with the top off. That way you can get that bread to get nice and brown on the top. We want that golden brown top on the bread. So all we're gonna do, take our pre-cut parchment paper. We're just going to place it in our Dutch oven in the bottom. Another key thing here is going to be having some sort of oil. You want to spray your parchment paper with the oil. All right, so here is our bread after it's had some time to do its thing. So obviously it's grown in size, and we've just got to form it a little bit, and then we're gonna put it into our Dutch oven. We've got our prepared parchment sheet with oiled in the Dutch oven. We've got our oven set at 425 degrees. We're gonna put this dough into our parchment sheet. This is probably a little bit of a harder part, but it's doable. It is doable. It's just a little tough because we've got to work the dough a bit. Maybe really heavy dough. There she is. There she is. Yes. All right. So here's a little hack for having really nice moist bread. You're gonna put a couple ice cubes under the parchment paper in the Dutch oven. And when you do this, it's gonna help create some steam, and that steam is going to help create a nice moist bread when it bakes. So you'll see what I mean here. So we're gonna put our lid on our Dutch oven. Lid on. And then this baby's gonna go in the oven for approximately 30 minutes. Hot oven, 425, 30 minutes. All right, let's take a quick peek to see how the bread is cooking. Oh yeah, oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Southern Explorer here. We've got our finished product, our homemade bread. I've put it in the oven for about 30 minutes on 425 with the lid. I took the lid off after 30 minutes, and I've done it for another 17 minutes at 425. I'm going to show you our finished result. Oh yeah, perfect, perfect homemade bread. That is really good homemade bread. All right, Southern Explorer here. we've got our finished bread. I let it cool for about 40 minutes on a nice little cooling rack here. You know, it turned out visually not what you typically see with a bread. Usually you need to score it and just let it kind of break open a little bit, but it should be good inside. I'll do a little cut down the middle, and then we'll also do a little taste test tonight. All right, we're gonna do a little taste test of our homemade bread. Nice butter on there. That's delicious.